The Money Show.
Personal Finance with Warren Ingram.
Talking tonight about quietly compounding your way to freedom. And I love this. It sounds like something out of Braveheart. We want our freedom. But this is the thing, getting your financial freedom little by little. And we're living in an economy where things are very difficult at the moment. Very often people get their salaries and they battle and they get to round about, what is it today, the 2nd of the month, and they're thinking to themselves, I'm not going to get through this. But you do have to get through it. And also as well, perhaps you have to save along the way. Well, joining us tonight in our personal finance feature is Warren Ingram. He's the co-founder of Galileo Capital. Warren, so nice to chat to you once again.
Thank you so much, Ray. It's great to chat to you again.
Right. So how do you very quietly compound your way to financial freedom?
You know, this topic is kind of close to the heart because you kind of, if you live on social media, which, you and I have to do just to stay informed, not because we want to, we realized, especially in the world of financial kind of social media, there are a lot of people out there, telling the world how to make money. And very often these are people living in their parents' kind of garden cottage or in the basement of some apartment that they're kind of renting with 5 other people, and they're living apparently a massive life. And you see them taking photos of themselves in front of big cars and, getting onto airplanes and the like. And actually, when you go behind that, the bulk of these people are just putting on a show and they have no go. They don't have money. They don't know how to make it. What they are incredible social media kind of users, and they're trying to translate that skill into something else, into some kind of way to monetize a social media skill, and they pretend that they know what they're doing. I know this because we see scams all the time. We kind of, if you go into social media, you'll see someone promoting some way to trade your way to freedom, or, kind of here's the next coin or NFT or whatever it's going to be. The day of the week it'll change, and there are people promoting kind of this glamorous way of life and a way to achieve financial success. Most of it, Ray, is garbage. And I think just to start there, the people that really make it in life, the people that achieve proper financial freedom, the ones that can choose how they spend their days, where they go on holiday, what they do with their kids, and they're looking after their parents, whatever it is. The people that have the freedom to make decisions with their own money, they largely don't do it in front of a camera. They largely don't broadcast what they do. In fact, they are the quiet millionaires. They're the people that have got there kind of behind the scenes, not because they're hiding, but because they're very busy getting things done and executing on a plan, and not broadcasting and trying to impress anyone. They're trying to get ahead day by day, week by week, month by month, by just doing very simple, very basic things. And to me, that's the quiet compounding that we need to figure out here. Is we shouldn't be living our lives to impress everybody. We should be living our lives to get to our own goals.
Yeah. What are those little things that you should quietly do? Because yes, most of us, some of us not, but most of us don't go onto social media. We don't flash it and say, gee whiz, this is all the money that I have now. What are those quiet things that you can do?
So the first one is understand what money is. And that sounds like a stupid concept. I mean, you can pull out a banknote from your wallet and there it is. But understand that it's not a goal and it's not the end. It's not the thing that you actually aim for. Money is simply a tool. And the moment you start to treat money as a tool to kind of achieve your goals or to live a better life, you start to realize that you need to, number one, be very careful with money because, tools have a lifespan. And if you use them quickly, then they're gone. There is no replacement. And that's what happens to your example about the 2nd of the month and you run out of your tool to live life, the way you want. That's what you've got to realize is, step one, start with understanding money is simply a tool. And the moment you do that, you understand that it's not a race that you've entered where you're kind of comparing to others because you don't know anyone else's position, unless they've shown you their assets and their liabilities and their income and their expenses. You don't know what's going on in their life. You only know what they show you. So benchmarking yourself by the way that you earn and the way that you spend and thinking that you're ahead or behind is really a waste. So just understanding you've got a tool. The tool is the way you spend your money, and if you accumulate it in the correct way and you let it work for you, then you're winning your race. There's no one else in the race. You're it. You're race of one. And I think people don't always understand that. They think they're in some kind of a horse race, which is just not true, right?
Yeah, but you're quite right in what you say. And also sometimes, I suppose, Warren, it's about restructuring yourself as well. There's a lot of things that you pay for that you don't need to pay for. You don't need to be flashy. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses. Maybe minimize everything. Less is more.
Yeah, and kind of reset the goals to say, when you're spending money, are you spending it on stuff that's important to you? And I think the kind of trick here is when you think this is success. Let's just say, for example, I'm going to go crazy and go and buy myself a R1 million car. Is that the goal? Is that what I want? I want to drive a R1 million car, and the measure is, if no one ever knows that I own a R1 million car and that I bought it and that I drive it, do I still feel like it's a success? If that is the case, then that's probably a goal you should aim for. But if you realize that actually it's other people seeing you in the R1 million car that makes you happy, then you need to know that buying the R1 million car is not the goal. There is something else that you need to figure out here and benchmark yourself differently. So it starts by saying, do what's important to you. And one great test is, in a year from now, the thing that I'm about to spend money on, will my life be better or will it be worse? So,
I like that.
If it works, if it's an experience, I always say to people, spending money on an experience where you travel or you add education to your life, you learn a new skill, spending money like that makes sense, because even if it's a holiday where you go away to a new place and you learn something new about the world, that's an experience that you keep. It's a memory that you have. That brand new shirt or that pair of pants or the flashy shoes, in a year's time, probably gone. You need to throw it away. And it doesn't make your life better.
Yes, it's so difficult as well. And I mean, I've fallen for this before. I've gone and thought to myself, you got one life to live. Let's go and get that car. But 3 years down the line, and you look around you and it's just a car. And you're not living the big life. It's just a car. Now, Warren, I drive a skedonk. I will tell you, I drive a skedonk that will fall apart at any point. But that's okay. You know why? Because it's paid off. It's my paid off skedonk. Is that perhaps the way to go?
It's 100%, Ray. And I think that's what COVID taught us. If we kind of open our minds to what happened, a few years ago and think about the impact on our lives. When you were living in your little shoebox apartment, not you, Ray, just someone listening to this, but living in the shoebox apartment, where you couldn't kind of swing your arms, around in a circle without hitting the walls. And then you look outside to your not garage, but your kind of carport, and you see your R1 million car on which you owe 990,000 Rand, and you can't drive it anywhere and you can't get any joy or impress anybody with it. What was important? Was the car important, or was the nice apartment important? Was the nice garden important? So understanding that maybe look back at your life in COVID and realize what made you happy. I can tell you, Ray, for me, it was buying a really nice pair of fluffy slippers in winter when we couldn't go anywhere. That was much more important than some car sitting in the garage. And I think that's kind of the lessons is, understanding that you make your life better through experience and through comfort, and not buying stuff, that really is meaningless in time. That's what counts. And the skedonk, I'll just say to you, Ray, I hope it's a safe skedonk, because I'd hate for you to be driving home and it breaks down. That wouldn't be good. But other than that, by all means, I think a skedonk's a great idea.
We should make home tonight. It's looking pretty good. Our guest tonight is Warren Ingram, co-founder of Galileo Capital. Perhaps you've got a question for Warren. 072-702-1702.
The Money Show.
Personal Finance with Warren Ingram.
And chatting tonight about quietly compounding your way to financial freedom. Our guest, of course, Warren Ingram, who's the co-founder of Galileo Capital. Warren, what are some of the easiest steps to building up your financial empire very quietly? Do you have to just not tell anybody about your money? Do you have to not perhaps even tell your partner? Do you have to just keep it in secrecy?
No. The not telling your partners is a tricky one, Ray. I'd hate to say that because I'm very sure my wife is listening, and I'd like to sleep silently. Yeah. So I'll give you one interesting piece of information. People who are in long-term committed relationships for many years, and we're measuring this in decades, tend to be in a much better financial position than people who aren't in long-term committed relationships. So actually finding a life partner that you can kind of share your goals and your money stories together is actually a kind of a secret in this. It's a key to financial freedom. But I'm not by any means saying that, if you're single, that you can't reach financial freedom. That's rubbish. I mean, you certainly can do that on your own. But if you can do it in partnership, that's a really good idea. And again, sharing your information with each other includes, for example, your fears sometimes. And what you'll find is that, the two of you will think about money very differently. So one person might be more impulsive, one might be more considered. And so balancing each other out and kind of sharing the goals and understanding what you each are going to do with money and what your joint goals are, you end up with your own kind of training buddy with money. And that's a very good idea. So I think an open and kind of honest relationship around money makes a lot of sense. And as I say, I have to say that, Ray, because I want to sleep tonight. So
yes, be careful. Yes,
I think also just understanding kind of another thing around investing is your long-term success is key. And I'm using long-term as the phrase here. Don't worry about short-term gains. So a lot of people, they look at this and they go, I'm behind on my goals. I'm not winning the race. I need to get rich quick, and I need to do it, in the next week or the next month or even the next year or two. The moment you adopt that attitude, almost certainly what's going to happen is you're going to lose money. And that's partly down to bad luck, but it's partly down to the emotions that you attach to the investments that you're making, and also the chasing returns and not managing risk. So understanding that when you're going to invest, your investment career is a multi-decade thing. And it starts with the most boring thing in the world. You've got to have an emergency fund that helps you get through the bad times, because sometimes you're going to invest money and the markets are going to go down and you're going to be losing money. And if you don't have an emergency fund, when life happens, you might have to draw on money that's lost a whole lot of value. And that's really crazy. So what you do is you cater for the short-term problems that, in the markets that talk about volatility. So you cater for that with an emergency fund. And then you set aside money that you can afford to leave for the next decade or two. And you invest that. And when the markets fall apart, it's distressing to watch, but you don't need to do anything. You don't need to make any changes or sell investments after they've lost money. You can let them ride out the volatility, let them recover. And that's how you make money over long periods of time with investments. It's not chasing the short-term quick returns. And I think people make that mistake a lot with their money.
Looking internationally, I've got one or two WhatsApps that have come through. And in fact, one person asked, where do I invest? Do I invest locally or internationally? We've got a new government of national unity and people are giving it the thumbs up. But where do you put your money? Is it South Africa Inc. or is it somewhere else?
I always think serious diversification makes a lot of sense. So in this instance, taking a view on SA Inc. only, I think is a mistake. Not because I believe South Africa is not on a good path. I think the last few weeks have been amazing, but we don't know what's going to happen. We cannot be that arrogant to think that we can make a prediction with certainty that we know what the outcomes are going to be. So when life is uncertain and volatile and and there is so much at play around the world with elections everywhere. What you should be doing is spreading your money far and wide. So by all means, allocate a portion of money to South Africa. I love buying the top 40 or top 50 index. I think that's a great place to allocate money, but certainly allocate a portion of money to global investments as well. Because then you're winning. If South Africa is winning, you're winning if the global markets are winning. And if both are going well, you're really happy.
Yeah. Another question, of course, questions are coming out now. Property, because a lot of people buy property for the long term. Is that a quiet investment that you just leave and let it sleep?
You're asking me my favorite trick question. So I'm going to upset somebody now, but I think we need to understand that it's the kind of property that you buy. So the very classic sort of cliche of buy to let. You buy a house or an apartment and you rent it out and you let the tenant pay off your bond. If that's the question, I think you need to be very, very careful. You need to understand that. You need to measure your rent in terms of what you actually put in your bank account every month. So what are you earning after you've paid the levies, after you've paid the body corporate costs, the transaction fees, the maintenance costs, all of that. And if that over a year works out at more than 8 or 9% as a percentage of the value of the property. In other words, if the property's R1,000,000 and you're banking kind of, 80 or 90,000 rand, I think that's 8 or 9%, right? Then that's not a bad investment as a start. Most of the time, after costs, people are banking 3% or 4%. And actually, they would do better to buy the property index in South Africa or a global property index. That would work out better.
And of course, it's location as well, because sometimes locations don't turn out so well. I've got friends who have invested closer to Johannesburg, the city itself, and that's been an absolute disaster.
And the kind of diversification argument goes out the window, because if you only have R1,000,000 and you've gone and borrowed another million, in other words, you've put down R1,000,000 deposit to buy a R2,000,000 property, you've done the opposite of diversification. You've put every single egg you own in one basket, in one property, in one city, in one country. That's a lot of risk, actually. Even though you can see the property and you can go and tap the bricks every day, the point is you need to make sure the tenants are paying. You need to make sure the place is being maintained, the area is okay, that the city's fixing the potholes and the traffic lights, et cetera, all of that counts to your property investment. So it's a very concentrated call to do that. And I think if you own 30 properties around the world, that's a different story. But I think the other comment there is costs. Understand that it's enormously expensive to buy a property and then to sell it one day. And along the way, you have huge maintenance costs. Even if it's a body corporate, there will be special levies along the way. And you're kind of covering a lot in that instance. And tenants will rip up the carpets or the cupboards every now and then. You've got to pay for all of that.
Yeah. We'll have to leave it there, Warren. I could chat to you the whole night. I really could. Warren Ingram is the co-founder of Galileo Capital. Warren, great to chat to you once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.